Welcome to the Marshall County Board of Supervisors special session here on November 1st, 2023 at 9 a.m. November 1st already it is. Notice public, notice hereby given the Board of Supervisors will meet in this special session at this above date and time location. And this is our call to order. May I have the roll call, please?
Heil,
Here.
Hibbs,
Here.
Slosik.
Yes.
Do we do a pledge of allegiance?
It is not on the agenda, but we may if you'd like.
Seems like we should.
Let us all stand for the pledge, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that, everybody. We are now going to roll into our discussion for the day, County Insurance Safety Committee Work Compensation Insurance. And so, well, who would like to kick off the discussion on this? Welcome, Dean. Right there, and that's that microphone is right here that you'll see on the corner. So that's the important piece for the recording for this.
Very good. Thank you. My name is Dean Shady, and I am the Safety and Risk Improvement Manager with the Iowa Municipalities Workers' Compensation Association. We provide the workers' compensation coverage for the county. We've done so now for several years. We feel that it's generally been a very good relationship. But one of the things that I asked to visit with you about today, and I know Bobby Shomo, your agent, is going to share a lot more information, is that we're seeing the safety committee kind of get stuck in neutral a little bit. And, given everything that this county has been through, going through COVID, with the tornado, you folks have been through a lot, and we understand that. But the reason I'm here is that we have seen some other counties and cities in our pool that have exhibited some of the same signs, and I call it fatigue. I mean, not that you're tired, but that you have been through a lot with COVID. You guys, again, through the tornado, what the Iowa General Assembly has kind of been doing with us with the budget issues. The public doesn't seem to understand what we do and appreciate what we do as much, demanding more. That all amounts up to sometimes people just kind of want to step back, take a breath, and kind of say, hold it a minute. And the problem with that is we have seen several entities do that. And the downside is that those are also entities that we have seen fatalities and very severe injuries. And, the most important part of that is they've lost an employee, a valued member of their team. It's affected the community. It's affected all the employees. We like to talk, well, we don't like to, but we talk a lot about the financial implications, which are going to be severe at a time where you don't have a lot of money to be throwing around. In the cases of a couple of these entities, they're watching their premiums go up a couple $100,000. And it's going to be that way for a number of years. And that's money, frankly, that they, need to be using in other places, and they're not getting anything more for that added premium. Whether you spend $500,000 or $30,000, you really get the same product. So when we were sitting at the safety committee meeting a while back, and the fact that you have a safety committee is very laudable. I think everybody there, wants to do the right thing. The fact that you have a board member on that committee is a valuable asset. Your agent makes those committees meetings, gives great input, which, by the way, you're very fortunate to have the level of agent that you have. A lot of entities aren't that fortunate. But one of the things that started to stand out to me is when they were talking about rewriting some of the policies, the concern got to be, well, are employees really going to do that? Nobody's going to do that. So let's cut this back. And the problem is, in safety, when you start changing policies to what you think only the employees will do, you're putting yourself and you're putting those employees at risk. Because you're sending a message that, hey, when it comes to safety, you know, we're not going to hold anybody accountable. We're going to take the easy road because that's the one. And I don't think that's what, by any means, what the committee meant to say, but that's how employees can start interpreting it. We've seen it over and over again. And, you know, one of the things that, again, Bobby's going to share a lot of information, but what I'd suggest is that you have a structure that is a good structure, but maybe what we need is to step back and maybe find, and I know Nan's office has been running that committee for a lot of years, done a great job. But again, with everything going on with the courthouse, elections coming up, all the other stuff you have to do with HR, it gets to be a real burden to try to keep track. And maybe what we need to do is look at the county, find somebody that, you know, will be your safety leader and re-energize what you guys have had from a couple years ago. Because again, I think you guys can succeed. You've got some good managers, you know, having worked with, you know, a number of them here and seeing what they're capable of. You know, go into some place, maybe not have quite what you have in terms of good leadership. You have it, it's just, I think we need to refocus a little bit more, get safety kind of back on the pinnacle, because the last thing I want to leave you with is, with everything going on, the employees are the best asset that the county has. Work doesn't get done without employees. And with it being harder to hire people, to keep them, the best retention process that we're looking at now is really safety. How do we protect those people? How do we keep them productive? How do we keep them happy and confident that we're looking out for their interests to send them home safe to their loved ones at night? With that, I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
You feel like it's important for us, or it's something we should consider to switch the leadership in the safety committee to another entity, to another person?
I would say, you know, again, the auditor's office has done this for a long time. They put a lot of energy, done a good job, but maybe it's a opportunity to give them a break, let somebody else take the lead on some of that. Now, they're still going to have to deal with the claims aspect as part of the HR and those things. It'd be nice if there'd be a way that, you know, you had an HR department or something like that, but you don't have that, you know.
But we are HR accounting.
You're an HR, yeah. So, I mean, you got to handle that. So, but as far as, you know, going out and looking at policies and doing the other aspects of safety, you know, the training and, you know, seeing, are we following our policies? If not, why not? To help with the incident review. Those things, I think, maybe having a fresh set of eyes might be a good opportunity. All right, turn it over to Bobby.
Thank you very much.
If I could, it'll probably make more sense to ask questions after I'm done, because you'll have a little bit more information and we'll be able to zero down a little bit better. Dean is fairly new to the safety committee. We just made a change with him. Nan has done a great job, and her staff as well. When we start talking about the makeup of the safety committee, what I think we're really after is getting buy-in at the department head level. Safety's a culture, and we're either going to breed a culture of safety or we're going to breed a culture of work comp claims. And we've been through a period in Marshall County before you guys where our mod got out of control, and it got out of control by multiple offenders. So there were people that figured out the system and that you can make money to not work. And if you're not careful, we can breed that system. We employees talk to each other, and you're going to breed probably one culture or the other, and we have to be proactive to breed the culture that we want. So you want to get me started here, James? I'm not used to not controlling my clicker, so I'll probably turn this on and off, okay? So Marshall County population, James, hit me one more time. 39, almost 40,000. Jasper County, go ahead, James, click. 37. So I'm going to give you a little bit of comparison data between Marshall and Jasper County. They're roughly the same size, but that's about as where the comparison ends. I've gotten permission from Dennis Simon, the Director of Human Resources in Jasper County, to share this information. The only negative is now I got to go present this to Jasper County too, because they want to see it as well. And I'm going to try to be serious today because I jokingly, the last time I met with you guys, I said insurance is tough right now and I'm going to apply for one of Paul's jobs. And my partner, Steve Mattson, has had 4 people call him and say, what are you going to do without Bobby? So, and they were serious. So I was joking. I'm quite happy in the insurance industry, although it is a tougher gig right now. Go ahead, James. So your renewal increase is 19.7%. I don't like presenting that number, but comparing it to Jasper County, one more time, 16.6. Now when I say population size is about the same, after that, it's all bets off. I have you with EMC insurance. I have them with ICAP. Both counties use IMWCA for work comp. So the packages are completely different. One is an insurance company, one's a pool. Both of you, unfortunately, have had significant claims with your courthouse. Marshall County enjoyed being able to say you had the largest claim in the history of the Des Moines branch with the MC for a long time, north of $40 million with the county. Jasper County also had a considerable loss with their courthouse. They had hired a person to retuck the masonry work around the courthouse, got everything out, didn't protect it before they finished putting it back on, and had significant water damage to the courthouse. A very large claim, though nothing close to what we had here. So, James, claims difference is we've spent a lot more money on claims in Marshall County. Marshall County has had a rougher time with vehicles. So we've had a lot more business auto claims than Jasper County has. And if we're looking at the primary reason for the difference in the basis points for the renewal, it's largely driven by the business auto and the property values. We have almost $100 million of property values in Marshall County. Jasper County has about 70% of that. So property is driving insurance right now, both in insured to value and in rate, and so having a 30% higher basis in the property drives that as well.
Are you going to talk about the auto claims? Like
Not
the
today,
detail? Okay.
but
I mean, what if that's one of the things driving our increase? I mean, we probably need to understand the detail of what's driving that.
If you would, I can get you an email in the next week that outlines what's going on in the business auto. I thought my focus was more on work comp today.
Yeah.
So I didn't bring detail on the business auto. One more, and then move to the next slide, James. Go ahead. So when we talk about Marshall County's historical mod, you've been pretty good historically. If I could explain the mod in elementary terms, 1.0 is like an average student in school. The mod is a multiplier, so you're going to take whatever your rate is multiplied by the mod. If it's 1.0, it obviously has no effect on it. If your mod dips below that red line, you actually get a discount on your insurance because you perform better than other people that have the same class codes as you. So you can see historically, we've done really, really well, except for this period, 14 to 18. The mod got out of control, and it got out of control largely by large offenders. And that's the period of time following that where we made the switch to IMWCA. And you can see the results moving forward after that, that they've been very, very good. The next number that's going to go up on here, I believe, will be north of 1.0. So I'll go ahead and do one more for me, James. So if I look at occurrences, we're not being driven by occurrences. 11 work comp claims for an account the size of Marshall County is not a bad deal. Workers' compensation doesn't expect you to have 0 claims. You've got lots of people doing lots of things. So 18, 19, 11 claims, 19, 20, 11, 20, 21, pretty steady. You can see we had a bump in 21, 22, and a bump in 22, 23. And 23, we're not halfway through the year yet. But we've had a bump in frequency, but the frequency number is not out of control. So the blue lines are Marshall County, the orange lines are Jasper County, and you can see they look alike, right? Not a huge lot of difference. Next claim, next slide. Now this is what happened with those frequencies, the number of claims that were reported. How much money did we spend on the claims? So you can see in 18-19, we've got a number between 60 and 80,000. Jasper County had almost 0. In 19, we flipped that. Marshall County had a great year. Jasper County wasn't bad, still low 20s. And then you can see 2021 and 21-22, they were tough years on both Marshall and Jasper County. There's a lot of discussion about what the pandemic caused. There's a lot of discussion about what's happening in law enforcement right now. I'm going to guess those numbers can look a lot alike by a lot of other counties as well.
So what's happening in law enforcement that's driving it?
I could probably have Joel talk here, but people are angry. I don't care who.
Violent.
Yeah,
So
when
violent offenders, and they're getting hurt
When you go
dealing
to
with
arrest
violent
somebody, or
offenders.
you go to move somebody from a cell block, biting, scratching, spitting, we've had, and it's not just Marshall County. Dean, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah,
You come up and join me, because we got a microphone here.
what we're seeing in law enforcement is, Joel said, I mean, people are angry, and you have a lot of officers that, they take the brunt of that. And, we're seeing physical violence, but we're also seeing that as a lot of this weight falls on the officers, it becomes a mental health issue. When you see, they deal with people typically on their worst day. And you see the things that they see, and you have the things done to you, and pretty soon that wears on people. And nationally, we're seeing that, law enforcement is having an uptick in mental health claims. It causes a lot of people, people that are good law enforcement personnel to sometimes do things that they normally wouldn't do that result in liability claims. So it's kind of a national issue. And then on top of it, it's getting very hard to recruit officers. And in some cases, hate to say it, but we got some states that are saying that quality of recruits are going down, and as a result, some of those claims are going up.
So in your opinion, mental health is outpacing the other areas?
It's a contributing factor to all of it. I mean, you have to look at it as a whole picture. But it's a growing part of that picture.
Thanks, Dean. For Marshall County, it's the work comp claims are not typically mental health. They're physical injuries, and they're from trying to deal with very aggressive, angry people.
Offenders?
And again, we're trying to compare Marshall and Jasper County. That doesn't compare very well, because we have a sizable active jail in Marshall County compared to what they have in Jasper County. So we have way more potential for claims in Marshall County than they do there. When you're looking at our mod right now, you guys have a pretty good handle on what a mod is. Okay, so our mod is a 3-year moving average of claims, and it looks at both frequency and severity. And in the red box are the 3 years that are currently driving your mod at the 0.88 that it is right now, or 0.86. As you can see, next slide, James, we're going to move on renewal, and one more click for me. We're going to lose our best year in that average. We had a really, really good 1920, and you can see, one more click, James, what we're going to replace it with. So we know, Dean and I know, Nan knows that our mod is going to take a significant hit with this renewal coming up. And it's being driven, go ahead, James. It's being driven by claims activity, and I want to talk a little bit how we get there. So your mod, if your premium were just based on your payroll and your experience, your premium would be about $261,000. But you're a 0.86, you get a discount, a 14% discount on your rates, takes it down to $225. And then to get down to your number, the 160-ish number, IMWCA gives you discounts for things like longevity and your loss experience and a large premium discount. So that gets you down to 162, 227 with their discounts. Those discounts follow your experience. So those discounts increase when your mod goes down. So it's a double dip, right? You get a cheaper mod and you get more discounts. When the experience is unfavorable, those discounts go away or at least become less, and you get less discount from your mod, or if you get above 1, you pay a surcharge on your mod.
Bobby, what's the trend line for just the base premium done over the last 5 years? Like not taking into account our mod. What's the base premium? What's that done over the last 5 years?
If you could go back a slide for me, James. So when you're looking at your experience the last 5 years, we're in a period like the 14 to 18 period where our losses are higher than they've been on average. Now, let me back off of that a little bit. You're still below the 1.0 line. Mm-hmm. They're not horrible. So we're not where we were in 14 to 18, where we got above the line and they were ugly. But we have a trend saying we're not as safe and as conscious as we were prior.
Right. So that's not really my question.
Okay.
My question is, aside from whoever the customer is, I mean, taking experience out of it completely.
What did inflation do? Just
Not inflation, the
just normal.
industry
Yeah.
itself.
Okay.
What is?
So we've gone through a period where work comp rates took off. So there's the mod that we have to be aware of, and then there's the base rates, which is what you're asking me for the state. Mm-hmm. So back 5 years ago, rates were really bumping up, and now for the last 3-4, Dean?
4 years.
4 years, we've had double-digit decreases, and you will get a double-digit decrease in individual rates next year, on average between 12 and 13%, which will offset the mod. So the mod is you, Marshall County,
So-
and the base rates are the entire state.
Right.
Right?
So why the decrease?
You have some thoughts on why you think it's decreased?
Yeah,
Come on up, because we're on mic.
thank you. So, IMWCA, we insure the majority of the counties in the state. And it's pretty much us and EMC. And then there's another little pool of 10 counties. But what they look at is all of the local governments. They look at all the work codes, similar work codes. So when they look at all that, and you take some of the areas that are small and not having claims, they offset because we don't report to NCCI. And the other pool of 10, they don't report to NCCI. So there's really a really small pool of big self-insured counties that buy retention, and then a couple other ones that are affecting it, and then the other governmental agencies that are similar that are having that effect.
And they determine the base rate, basically,
Right.
is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
NCCI determines the base rates. So we're guessing. The pandemic played into number of claims that were submitted because people weren't coming to
At
work.
work, yeah.
Yep.
Right? So that resulted in not having a lot of claims, which resulted in the next year's rates per class going down.
We're done with that?
We're done with talking about it anyway, right? We might not be done with it, but we're done with talking about it. And I would have expected maybe this year that to go the other way. And I'm pleasantly surprised to see that it's going to drop another 12% with this renewal. Things in our industry tend to be cyclical. They tend to move in waves. So there is going to come a year where those base rates come into line and then they increase. We just don't have a crystal ball to tell you when that's going to be. But we do know this July's renewal will have a 12 to 13% downward trend.
And by the way, that's a general all work codes. We have some work codes that went way up, like volunteer firefighter, and then other ones that, really went down. So that's the average.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, James, bop ahead for me. So you can look at where we're having our claims here in Marshall County. But boy, it is hard over a 5-year period to develop a trend on number of claims. You're looking at dollars. But I just want to give you an idea of, we've had 26 claims resulting from an arrest or an extraction or dealing with inmates. We've had 7 claims from bending or lifting. We've had 8 slip and falls or going upstairs or going downstairs that weren't related to ice. We've had 3 other claims that are related to ice. You're good right there for a minute, Dean. Dean, you're not doing that. James. We've had 8 claims from people working on vehicles or stuff. We've had 5 from training or training exercises. We've had 4 work comp claims that came out of a car accident or hitting a deer. 3 employees that have passed out, causing a medical claim. 2 just getting out of a vehicle. We've had a rollover. We've had a cut by a sharp object. We've had a dog bite. But as I've talked with IMWCA at their level, it over a 5-year period of time, that's not a lot of claims in any one line. Again, law enforcement, that's a bigger number than everything else, but that number is driven nationally. That's not a surprising number for what's going on.
Bobby?
Yeah.
Can I interject one
Sure.
thing too? In law enforcement, part of what was causing those claims to be a little higher was that people were out on indemnity for a little longer. And we worked with the sheriff and worked on getting a return to work program in place. So that's helping, started to bring that number down.
Thanks, Dean. Next, James. Thank you. So I've taken the names out of the top 10 claims that we've had in the county over that 5-year period. This mod review that I had IMWCA do for us, they have to do a static date. So this is based on 12/31/22. It doesn't include the largest claim that you've had in a 5-year period, which happened in January of '23. And that's just over $90,000. So that's going to impact us next year on
What
our
kind
mod.
of injury was that?
Pardon?
What kind of injury was that?
Give me just a second here. That was lifting a part out of a machine. Is that correct, Jeannie? Right?
I believe so. I have to go back.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I want to be careful with HIPAA right now.
Right.
I'm not going to talk about individual employees, but I do want us to understand, one of the things I keep an eye on is multiple claims by the same employee. This one has been addressed. The employee we're talking about has moved within position from a job that required lifting and working on stuff to now driving. And we hope that that's going to alleviate, because that's the claim that's not on here, right? But he is also one of those three. So two of our top three claims, dollar-wise, is driven by one employee, and it could be a 0.15, 0.16 of your mod being driven by one person. So when you're trying to determine how much that person costs you to employ, you probably need to add another $20,000 to the annual cost based on claim activity. Now, I'm not here to talk about how the claim or why the claim or to make character judgments. I'm just saying we want to be aware when we have multiple claims and understand how that affects the cost of insurance over the county.
Well, the how and the why, I guess, for me would only be relevant if there are things we can do procedurally or policy-wise or practically to alleviate.
And I think we've done that procedurally. We've made the change that we needed to make.
Okay.
Now, for me, what I have to see in the future is, do claims continue from that employee? And if that's the case, then it's a different discussion we need to have. But you can see our mod is being driven not by the frequency of claims, it's being driven by the severity of claims. If I were going to put Jasper County up here right now, Jasper County's highest claim would be number 4 on this list. And they only have one claim that would be on the top 10. So what's impacted us at the Marshall County compared to the Jasper County is the severity of the claims, and especially when that relates to indemnity. When your employee is hurt and has medical bills and they also incur lost wages, your medical bills go into the mod formula on a dollar per dollar basis. When there's no indemnity spent, they go in on a 30 cents on the dollar basis. And that's a huge impact on your mod. But those three claims all went in at a dollar for dollar, so we took a pretty big hit there.
Can you sort these by department?
I can. So number 1 is secondary roads. If the claim that's not on here, that would also be secondary roads. Number 2 is secondary roads, and number 3 is the sheriff's department. If I were going to finish the top 10, 5 of the remaining top 10 are sheriff's department, and 1 is buildings and grounds. But all the claims below the top 3 went in 30 cents on the dollar. There wasn't indemnity involved in any of those claims. And you can see relatively no impact on your modification rate. Okay? Next slide. So I answered the departments, and I'll tell you, the biggest one was climbing out of a skid loader. The second one was just stepping over a ladder. And the third one was SWAT training, carrying a 100-pound dummy. So that secondary road, sheriff's department. All right, go ahead, James. So this breaks it out not by department, by class code that we have our work comp with. And you can see, if we're going to talk to any departments, it's going to be secondary roads and sheriff's departments where we're spending our money. Next. So you can see on this is what I was talking about. James, hit the click. I don't know if I need it or not. Yeah, okay. So you can see the actual incurred on your top 3 claims, and you can see actual incurred and incurred after medical reduction, and you can see all 3 of those numbers were not reduced. They went in, back for me, James, where'd you go?
Not sure.
Okay, so all 3 of those claims went in dollar for dollar, and there's always a question on whether we should pay wages versus use the indemnity. And it's just a metrics, right? It's just trying to determine what's best for the long-term course of the county. But since those three went in on a dollar for dollar, those three claims have about 20 basis points on your work comp. And then, again, your largest claim is not on there. That largest claim is going to be a .08 or a .09. And so what's driving your mod right now is not the number of claims you're having, it's the severity of the claims that you're having. Next, James. So when they get done with their mod analysis, this is basically their summary page that shows us your historical mod with them, your current .86, what your premium would be if it were 1.0, and then understanding if we do our job really, really well, we can't get down to a 0.0 mod. The lowest we can get down to in Marshall County is a .64. Jasper is .01 different one way or the other, but it's about the same. So in a great safety enhanced situation, we're going to get our mod down to a .64 as opposed to the .86 that it is now. And if we do, we save another $35,000 in premium. So safety matters. Being safe in what we do matters. But I do want us to understand historically, we've done pretty darn well with the county. We've kept this mod under one more years than we haven't. But I'm telling you where we're heading next year. I think it'll be north of the number, and we got to get the severity under control. Next, James. These are going to be a bunch of clicks. So what I'm trying to do is keep employees safe in doing their job. I'm not trying to be overbearing and make these guys spend too much of their time with me. But looking out in this room today, I'm very grateful for the staff you guys have and the department heads. We've had some retirements in Nan's department, people that I've worked with for decades. And Jeannie and Maria and Cassandra have knocked it out of the park. So you got some really, really good hires. But I'm looking out at each of the department heads here, and every one of them are a joy to work with. They all will give me their ear. They all talk, and I couldn't ask for better people to work with. But I don't want to get in your way, but I do want to save you as much money as I can save you. I want to pay your claims and your lost wages timely when accidents do occur, and we know that accidents are going to occur. We're going to have some claims. Next, James. I want to try to manage the county's premiums to the best of our ability. So summary on why I'm here today. Go ahead, James. I want us to become proactive in our safety protocols. So when I've talked to the safety group, I've called out the city of Newton, not Jasper County, but the city of Newton, because they have a very, very active safety group program, very, very proactive. They use a disciplinary process. When they catch their employees not working safely, they get written up, and they can move to termination based on just how they do their job, not even a work comp claim. Mm-hmm. They just demand that employees work in a safe environment. What Dean and I want to do through the safety committee is create a mindset, a culture where employees think about safety first. So when I talk about a large claim that happened because someone stepped over a ladder, I would like to have an employee that thinks about what could happen with this step before the accident happens, right? So I can say accidents happen, and he stepped over a ladder, so bad, so sad, pay the claim and move on. No, what I really want to talk about is employees thinking about, you see the pictures, you see people with rolling chairs, standing up on the chair, changing a light bulb. All they're thinking about is changing a light bulb. I'm to the point in my life, I'm thinking about old bones don't do well when the chair slides. So we're looking for a proactive safety protocol. We're looking for a safety mindset from all employees. We're going to build a culture. Back in 14 to 18, we built a culture where employees explained to other employees how to file work comp claims. And it cost the county quite a bit of money when our mod got above 1. What I'd like to do is build a culture of safety where we get that mod rate down as low as we can. And we saved the county some money in a time where insurance premiums are just out of control, right? Next. So we want to have aggressive management of open claims. That's been my history with IMWCA. I like both EMC and IMWCA. They do work claims very differently. One is more laissez-faire, and one is more aggressive. And we have benefited over our history with IMWCA because of their aggressiveness. Now, I'm going to say, Dean, the last year was tough. With their cyber attack, it adversely impacted their service for a bit. Jeannie would agree. I would agree. The cyber attacks, if you get hit, it impacts daily workflow. I think we're back to where we should be. I think a great carrier to work with.
Do you agree, Jeannie? Okay.
So, James, tornado, we did, the tornado impacted us a bunch. Lucas and I had hair before the tornado. Yeah, this is, it's been a tough 5 years, displacing the whole county over to the bank and the Max building and finally getting back in. Tornado was tough. Next, James, the pandemic was tough. Next, we're tired. There's no doubt we've been through a lot, but we're to the near end of the tornado. We're coming out of the pandemic, and what Dean and I are here today is to get a buy-in at the department head level that safety makes sense, except what it really makes is dollars, and lots of them. But if these guys don't buy that safety is important, none of their employees are going to buy that safety is important. And I typically don't get my larger clients to get excited about safety until that mod gets up to 1.3, 1.4, 1.5. You don't want your mod up there. You don't want to pay 50% surcharge for what other counties are getting a 20 or 30% discount on. So I'm happy to add James to the safety committee. I think we've got great leadership in Nan with the safety committee. Now, my bag is to get a buy-in from the department head levels, who I know are all really, really busy, but the department heads are going to breed the culture of safety, not their second or third or fourth in command. It's going to be the department heads. And I know they don't like my closing, but it is my closing. I need their involvement. Now we'll take some questions.
So I am curious, because I don't represent the county on this committee. How often do they meet and who attends?
We try to meet every month,
Okay.
and we try to have all of the department heads there, if possible.
And the only non-department head has been Emily has Jeremiah attending because he's more the
He's
boots on the ground
guy.
out.
And I don't mind, that's a good choice.
That is
Yeah.
a good choice.
And Emily's doing a
now.
great job as well, too.
And that department, because he is more the one that's really out with the lawn mowing people and the
Yeah.
chainsaw people and that type of thing. So that one makes sense to me.
Now, when he said monthly, I think it has to be monthly for a while to get the safety manual in
yeah.
place. But Newton is to the point that it's well-established and they meet every 2 months. I think it needs to be more than quarterly, but I think we can eventually get down to 2 months. I think right now we're in a culture spot. We gotta shift it back to safe versus claims.
The one thing I would interject on that, and again, if everything is flowing well and you want to go to bi-monthly, that's fine. But be prepared that if there is a claim, an incident, that you may be meeting in order to do an incident review. Because waiting 60 days means 60 days you have something in place that may re-injure an employee or injure other employees, and we don't want that.
And you can do that by Zoom, you can do it by an email thread. You don't have to have a special meeting to do that, but it does have to be talked about.
Or do a subcommittee incident review subcommittee. We see that a lot too.
So, go ahead,
No,
Steve.
go ahead.
So, let's say we're kind of re-energizing the group and refocusing things. Assuming all department heads are a part of that process and meeting monthly, what would be some first steps to take?
You're back.
Well, again, I think one of the things that the committee started with is let's get the safety manual in place, get it where it is complete, it does what we need it to do, and get all the employees trained on that they understand, because I cannot hold somebody accountable for a policy when they don't know what that policy is.
So when you talk about getting all the employees trained on that, so then are you coming back and doing department by department training on it, or are you expecting the department heads to do the training for their employees?
That honestly is the department head's job.
Okay,
As Bobby
We could
said.
do a central training too,
yeah, but
either way.
But
We
the
also,
problem-
there's a
the prob-
signing page too.
the problem with that, though, is, people can't always make it, and then there's,
Yes.
Yeah.
It is vastly different, but
Yeah.
the safety manual, to understand what's in the manual itself.
right,
And I know Ben Varan brought up one thing on an auto accident that is, we've got to fix that page, because if Lucas had an accident, a minor accident in Marshalltown, the PD would not do what's in our manual. So that needs to be cleaned up. He pointed that out, I think the same day we approved it by the Board of Supervisors.
Okay, so, what do you need for now? Okay, so, I think right now we're at a super standstill with our safety committee, because we are splitting hairs over this manual. It is, I am where you are. I would like to get some tangible first steps in place to start implementing some trainings and some actual tangible things that we can do right now, even if that manual is not in place. Get some incident reporting procedures down, those smaller, hands-on procedures that we can do right now, and not worry about, that our safety manual says you can't smoke in the XYZ certain spots on the premises. I really don't. I don't care. I would love to get some things in place that we can give to department heads right now that, next week that they can put into place. And
Fire extinguisher training.
yeah,
and-
Lucas had brought up fire extinguisher training. That's an easy thing that you could disseminate to department heads to
Yeah,
put down to.
different for different departments. He's got,
And I agree with your point. Go through and, like I would say, let's get incident reporting done. I mean, those are key elements. And then there's other things that, we can kind of hold off, but that part, when we talk about the safety manual, those are the things we've got to focus on. The smoking issue, you might have a policy countywide that says you can't do it. You don't need to repeat that in the safety manual. So I agree with you on kind of splitting hairs. We need to get to the
I would like to
issues.
look at our accident prevention program and the investigation program. The things that are what are actually going to reduce claims, prevent claims. Again, like the ladder on the ground thing is a great thing. Not only did we have an employee unsafely navigate around the ladder, what we actually want is for the employee to look at that ladder on the ground and pick it up so that they're not stepping over it and somebody else does, because if it wasn't them getting hurt, it would have been somebody else. If that employee had looked at that as a risk and knew risk mitigation, they would have said, I need to pick that up, instead of I'm just gonna step over it and hurt myself.
And by the way, the incident review, that's something we can provide training on. We do that. On the safety manual, one of the things that we talk about, we have a NeoGov program called Learn. And it provides online training. It's an awareness level training available to all employees. The nice thing about it is that you could also take, let's say that we do the incident review section, that gets approved, we can put that online, have all the employees go in, do the review, take a minor test to show they actually read it, and then you've got that part done. So we can help with that type of stuff.
So
Ironically, I trained that and did that at Emerson.
So I
Same
think,
program.
I think there's a twofold approach to this. One is positive incentivizing, and then one is like the stick of what happens when someone doesn't follow safety
And I would
protocol.
love to avoid like punitive measures. I'd like to
Yeah.
try and
I mean,
just
ideally, you want it positive and going forward, and you emphasize that. But if there are no consequences, then
And-
you
and right-
lose a little bit.
True,
And right
because-
now, we're in the educational phase of it. Our employees don't even know our employees don't know the rules. They don't know the
They
safety
don't even
manual
know they're
exists.
responsible for safety.
No. And I know that sounds silly because it seems like something that, you as a person would, but like, a lot of people just come to work, they clock in, they clock out, they do what they need to do, and they don't think about the safety aspect of things, and it's our responsibility to do that. And to your question, the first steps, I think we just need to, I would like to shift focus and just kind of work on some of the tangible things that we can pass down to employees. And then once we can educate and get that step done, I think then we can move on to the more hair-splitting things, like the things that we have to do.
Yeah, we need a policy in place, no doubt, but it's,
And we have one, it's just,
we
It's
need
out
to
of
clean
date,
up, we need
too.
to clean up better one. I mean, but I think it's separate to the culture. You talk about the culture, I mean, we're talking what, 3 or 4 incidents a year? That's not, when you think about numbers, that is not huge in the grand scope of what everyone's doing. But they're all preventable. All of those major ones were very preventable. And if you have a culture that says, we value you as employees, you should value yourself and value safety. And as long as you have that in the mindset of your people and the thought of, I don't have to try to do all this myself in this moment, there is tomorrow. And it's a mindset that I took in a farm training, was like, farmers get hurt because they're trying to get stuff done as fast as they can, and then they slip, their mind
And they're
slips,
tired.
and then things happen. And it's the same mentality. If you have that,
You just summarized all that we're trying to say. You have a choice. You can say, oh, 3 to 4 claims a year, that's not too bad, we're good. Or you can say, look how many of these were preventable. And that's a culture.
Right.
You get to breed one or the other, where we're happy with 11 to 15 claims. Or we can have an incident report on each of those claims. We can say, what could we have done? The ladder is just a perfect example. We spent tens of thousands of dollars on a ladder that wasn't picked up.
Well, and if there's no message from department heads, that's a problem. If they're not being proactive in it, they may not be being, saying hurt yourself, but if they're not being proactive in it, then that also sends a message too.
and
So,
I think us being, especially with the accident investigations, kind of keeping better, more, statistics on what we specifically as a county are having happen, then the department heads will have things to focus on during their safety trainings, actual relatable things that have occurred that we can work on, and not just, what can we do a safety training about? Let me just look at something. We want
You
something
can
that's-
email blast, text blast, department blast, hey, had these kind of accidents the last 30, 60, 90 days, please be careful. You just create an awareness.
We just had a meeting of, we have a subset of cities, counties, and utilities that have full-time safety directors. And we had a meeting with them yesterday. And, what was laid out is have a plan. And we talk about every year, having your safety committee set a set of goals. What do you want to accomplish this year? And have a plan for all the departments in terms of training. Part of it looking at your claims, part of it sitting down with the employees. They got the most skin in the game, frankly, and ask them, what worries you? And what do we not, what do we need to do to protect you better in these situations? Because when you make it about them and it's not about money, honestly, they don't care if your premium goes up. They don't care if OSHA comes in. What they care about is going home to their family. They care about them, they're gonna be in good enough shape to retire, enjoy retirement. And that's why, we gotta get them, bought in as well as the department heads.
Well, I think the message is we want Marshall County to be a positive, safe environment in every department to work in. And I get some departments are higher risk than others just because of the nature of the activities. But the practical reality is we have limited resources. And so when we have to commit more to increase insurance claims, we have less to spend on wages for employees. So, I mean, that's just the reality of it.
And I'm happy to help. I'm here, I'm right across the street, so any department heads that want me to help with the training with their employees, I'm available.
And I plan on being here to, whatever they ask, try to do our best to get it to them. We want you to succeed. We're not an insurance company, we're a pool, you own us. So we want to make sure that everybody is happy, not only you, but the other members of the pool, and that's what we're about. At the end of the day, being non-for-profit, we don't want to take any more of your money than we need to. We want to leave it here so you can use it the way you really need to, use it.
So I would be curious to hear maybe from Lucas or Paul or Joel about, or Kim about any, what you guys think good next steps are.
Or how as a board we can help you
Yeah.
enforce what you feel is necessary for your department.
I think for me, it's just, just constant little reminders to my staff, like, hey, why are you doing it like that? We don't need to do it like that. That's, I'm lucky as, I don't have 60, 70 employees that work for me. I see every one of my employees every day. So that's, the accountability is a lot easier to plan.
So like for Lucas, I would have, I get the emails from IMWCA that have these great little articles about I just got one that was snow and ice safety that I would forward to Lucas and be like, here, show your guys this. Lucas is easy. He talks to his employees every day. They meet every morning. It's very easy for me to be like, hey, talk to the guys about this tomorrow because you're going to be out treating ice. Paul and Joe, I don't, they would be the more, I think they are much higher risk. So and I know Joel trains his staff and they have their things.
I mean, that's why I guess I'm curious to hear what you guys think are good next steps for us.
Yeah, we're gonna, I'm listening to a lot of the input here, and it's kind of like comparing, in my department, it's like comparing apples to oranges. We do have a lot of this process in place. We keep track of off-duty or other employment injuries, and then we have flags if this is a recurring instance. We have flags saying what's going on with this employee. Are they being unsafe? Is there something else going on in their life or in their work assignments? We have that. As far as the training aspect, if this program would come up with specific, say a yearly, okay, this month's gonna focus on ice, slip and falls, what can you do? 15, 30 minute. We already do the online training. This could be incorporated, in a seasonal, where this is the list, your 12 assignments for the year. You're required to do these at least one every month. I mean, that's something we already do. That could be implemented from this program, I think. Probably the negative part that I see, obviously, I want employees to come to work. The longer they're off, it sends kind of a bad message. So we work to bring those employees back. We talked about the one incident with the SWAT injury. One of those is the plan for treatment. There was a delay in plan for treatment. Come to find out this individual did need surgery. So it was referred to a surgeon that doesn't do that surgery, so that put us back several weeks. And so some of that kind of plays into that.
Yeah.
And that's my concern.
Yeah, if I could piggyback on that for a minute, one of the problems we have in Marshall County is access to Ahmed doctors. And I would love to see Emerson, Veterans Home, school, you bond together, because we could all benefit from having a greater access to Ahmed locally. We're trying to get people to Nevada or Ames or Des Moines, and it's not every day. We don't have the same abilities that Polk County has with access to Ahmed. Boy, if I were in your shoes, one of the things I would be trying to do is work with the other big providers of employment in the county to maybe bond together and through critical mass, make a demand back to the med community for more Ahmed access.
Have you had any conversations with Unity Point about that?
I have not.
Yeah.
We've had conversations with McFarland, and there was supposed to be somebody coming in after they got in, and I think there is.
We're having great luck with Story County Medical specifically. I'm having great, they are very diligent. I like working with them so far.
And I absolutely agree. I just wish it wasn't Story County.
I wish it was
Marshall
here.
County.
And I think some of that too is, I don't know healthcare in general, with delay. I have one individual that is, went through physical therapy for an injury, back in August. Found out last week that now needs an MRI. It's another 30 days before they can get scheduled in for an MRI, so that puts us even farther back for recovery. They're working very well with it. It's just, there's just not available appointments. And I think that kind of comes down to healthcare in general. So that's one of the other frustrating issues that I have. But I do think bringing them back to work, I've talked to several employees that, once they're back to work, they feel better for another recovery. It's just the longer they're off, I think that methodology kind of plays into that. They don't want to come back as soon. I think that's just the longer they're off, that the more distance they become. And that's been a positive, I think, for our department.
Paul, you go.
In my department, there's, most of the operators are largely detached. I don't have an email I can send out to every employee in my department. I don't even have personal emails for everybody. So if I found something good that I wanted to get out to the crew, the only way I can is to go hand them paper and put something out with their paycheck, because that's the only thing they see. You know, and that's, some of them still might not see it.
And do you require them to attend department meetings? Like, do you get together with them?
Yeah, but the only requirement we really have to attend the safety meetings is I've decided to start buying pizza. And that
Donuts.
they don't have an appointment they had to go to or something, you know.
Yeah.
And that would be somewhere that I would definitely put in, probably a punitive measure, where I would say you are required 2 times per year to, is that what you do, twice a year?
We try to get twice a year, but COVID, we didn't always get twice a year.
You are required to do this.
And we should probably do it more than twice a year. It's just the getting, you know, the 8 employees from outside parts of the county, getting them into the, you know, everybody into the shop is.
You might have done that one, and that's the thing, you know, if you have supervisors that could, you know, you could localize a couple shops, or, you know, unfortunately, I know there's at least one where you just be going out to just that shop, but like, or shed, but like,
There's 4.
yeah, better.
Is there computer access at, you know, sheds for those? Is that something we should try to change?
Well, we've had the battle with Minerva, just trying to get data to it, because we've got a fueling station that has to be able to, we couldn't even get a copper wire to go to the shed, you know. Nobody has landlines anymore, so a phone company doesn't wanna put line out just for one phone. You know, and we tried to do cell phone data, and anyway, there's communications issues with our outside shed. I've looked at options to try to get, you know, digital timesheets. We're still doing paper timesheets like it's 1975. You know, it's kind of funny, but not funny. smartphone is where you do your timesheet, but
You wish it to each shed.
we could possibly do a,
iPad out there.
you know, a wireless communication method, each shed is possible.
Environments are not exactly conducive to good technology, they're gonna get
No cell phone service.
some areas are just.
Ferguson is poor. I know Ferguson's really poor.
Minerva's poor.
I mean, it's,
There are a couple areas of the county that it's,
bad.
it's almost non-existent.
so I mean, I think connectively, we're not connected to our employees in our department.
Yeah, but I do think that it will be important, an important message and priority for you to deliver to the employees, you know, that at least twice a year, and maybe it's seasonally for you, you know, maybe it makes sense before winter, before, you know, things change, and after before summer, you know, as your schedules dictate, to just say, this is mandatory, and we do have to, because we're trying to change the culture, and we do have to prioritize this.
Another thing that we have, and, you know, and every department has this, but my operators have to work past the prime age of really doing physical work. You know, they're working into their sixties, no offense if anybody in here is over 60, but old bones, you know, and they still have to climb in and out of trucks. And I know if I had to work with my back 40 hours a week right now, I'd be in tough shape, you know. And I'm only, you know, 51. But it's just they're having to work to get to retirement to the place where injuries are gonna be more and more common as they get older because they're starting to wear out.
So I like the conversation, but where we've ended up is that's why there has to be more safety protocol, because the possibility for claim is higher. And I want you to understand, Paul's doing a great job. You are not going to change the fact that most of your claims are coming from the sheriff's department and secondary roads.
Right.
That's
Right.
where the hard work is happening. That's where the ability to get hurt is happening. But you do want to understand that at least 20 basis points of your work comp mod premium right now is based on 3 claims in secondary roads. So that's a $25,000 number. So maybe it makes sense to proactively throw some dollars at finding a way to get that group together a little bit more and finding a way to communicate with them on a regular basis so that we can bring those severities down.
Well, and 3 claims within that department, that is a culture, you know, so trying to change that mindset and
Yeah, and
not have
understand-
it spread.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
still not worried about the frequency, the
Yeah.
number of claims, but 3 large claims
Yeah.
really has an impact on your mod.
Is there anything we could have done with those big claims to prevent them from being indemnity?
Well, you can choose not to have an indemnity claim. You can choose to
What
pay,
does that mean?
that means you keep them on payroll.
Return to work light
Like
duty. Yeah.
I mean, that saves us a ton of money. doesn't it?
That saves you 70% of the medical bills
Yes.
going against your
Is that
mod
part of- is that-
calculation.
That's not part of our policy though, like a requirement to bring these people in on light duty.
Well, you keep them on payroll and then you pay their medical bills, right?
We pay the.
They pay
You pay the medical bills no matter
The only thing we
what.
don't pay is the indemnity. We still pay, medical, we pay permanency if they have it. And there's gonna be times where you're gonna have a claim where somebody is surgical, and they're gonna lose time. But the issue there is, do you minimize that amount that's paid out, because it is dollar for dollar, versus trying to keep that as small of a payout as possible on the indemnity?
So there's a whole other mathematical formula we're talking about now, right?
Right.
So on your 3 big claims that went in dollar for dollar, the largest one you spent 26,000 in indemnity. The second one you spent 8,000 in indemnity, and the third one you spent 8. So you spent $42,000 in indemnity. I don't think that's up there anywhere, James, I'm sorry. But, so you would have had to have eaten $42,000 to get the benefit of 30% of the medical bills going in instead of 100% of the medical bills. So we'd have to work through what that would have done to your mod over that period of time, how much premium would it have saved you. And I don't know that we're asking you to eat $42,000 but I know we're begging for a mandatory return to work, light duty type deal, that would be tremendously helpful. And I also understand that's hard for a sheriff's department, really, really hard for, so we've got all these competing values happening, and what I'm appreciating is the dialogue. Because dialogue will move us to some change.
And one thing with return to work, it doesn't have to be, you can move an employee from a department to another department, and it can be it should be really meaningful work. What are things that you would do? So, we have where some employees, the auditor, when they get done, they got a pile of paper that needs to be, ground up. And rather than having one employee do it that could be doing other things, I've got a person that, has the limitations, but handling the paper, putting in the grinders within those restrictions, why not having them do that? It's something you're gonna be paying somebody else eventually to do anyway. I mean, we have one county, they had a sheriff's deputy that got injured, and that county has a recycling center with a scale house, and that deputy sat up at the scale house for a week doing that. They did a brief training and did it, and, he would tell you that, hey, it was better than sitting at home thinking about how things hurt. He was there, he was dealing with people, and the county got some use out of that.
So, I'm back to next steps. Next meeting, what's the,
That's what I was just looking up. It's usually the third.
We were looking at changing dates and times, so we can talk about that. I can send an email out, or we can talk about when we would like to schedule it so that we can get, because
We have a different group, so that time wasn't working out as well for that group. So,
I think the next time we meet, I would like to, really hammer down on the policies we want to implement and can now. And do that. I don't wanna hem-haw around the safety manual anymore.
Okay.
I will leave it exactly how it is, even if things are incorrect or not followed or out of date, and focus on some of the things that we need to implement and do that. That's what I would like to do.
I caution on this, because if you put out a policy or manual that is incorrect or has contradicting information, that's pretty confusion among employees.
So it sounds like there might be a compromise point, though, to where we can highlight 3, 4, 5, or 6 things in the safety manual and make them communicative to the entire county employment staff.
The safety manual is out, it is public, it is implemented, it is just out of date.
It's just in the process of being updated.
I would like to not focus anymore on getting every last thing in it corrected and out, and just update the certain key things that we can do and just maybe push it out in phases.
We probably have to do both at the same time. We want to find some places where we can implement immediately, but we gotta work on getting the update done and completed. Maybe we can go to more of a subcommittee on the actual language in the manual, take that away from the meeting, and get to the implementation phase with the
Paul
group.
and I met on the fleet safety, I was gonna say vehicle, fleet safety, and we got that pared down a whole lot just by things, by the forms and.
I'm gonna try to get a couple other counties, inspections too,
Okay.
their dailies, Marion's gonna send me his.
Yeah, we tried to make that actually something they would do and inspect the vehicle versus something that they wouldn't do. Having them just check everything off and not do anything is not
not enough.
not a good option.
So is there a need for training for department heads? Or have they been trained and it's just now how do we get it?
No, I think
Down.
we need to have.
We do a training called supervisor safety awareness. And it's, you know, not only for department heads, but for your foreman, anybody that's a supervisor level. Why safety is important, why it's part of their job, you know, what does that mean? We've done that for, you know, numerous counties and cities. So we could do that, and then we could also do the incident review training. You know, what do you look for in an incident, how do you do it? You know, the big thing there is not to have people give the impression that you're playing gotcha with the employee,
Right.
but, you know, what are we trying to accomplish and how do we do that? So we can provide that training for the
So I think
county.
the first next step we're gonna do is, probably after this meeting, I'll talk with, Nan and Dean and Bobby about, just scheduling a meeting, just maybe the four of us, hammering through some things that we want to do now. Talk about the safety manual a little bit, get something implemented and done, and, talk about supervisor training, and instructions that we can give to the supervisors to, disseminate that down to employees and start growing a positive culture.
We had talked about setting in on Newton's safety meetings, and I still want to plan on that if.
Yeah, I will send you and Jeannie an invitation to our next one. That's a bi-monthly, and it's coming up, first of next month.
Okay.
And I'm visiting with another county right now. Their person is getting approval from their board, if you're interested.
Yes.
It's a larger county, but they have an awesome program.
That's all right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys, for your feedback.
See, I took notes. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, everybody. That was a very good discussion, and I think the key thing out of this is making sure that our employees are valued, and if they know they're valued, then they take safety seriously. So, any other questions, comments, concerns before we adjourn for the day? Thank you, Steve, for your service on the safety committee representing the Board of Supervisors.
Keep us safe, Steve.
Yes.
Any training that the board needs to prevent injuries in our
Possibly,
office?
probably.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much. Without any further discussion, this meeting is adjourned at 10:21 a.m. Thank you, everyone, for being here.